Welcome to the Book We Bully podcast. Possibly for the first time, Death is the narrator. Yes, that Death of a book so filled with life. And now Death has a gender too in this, meets our main protagonist, Lizelle, thrice, and each time with a color white, black, and red, the colors of the Nazi flag. It is the story of a book thief, Lizelle, who cannot read. A book centered in the middle of a war while still being peaceful. A book about a girl who steals a book without knowing how to read. About a girl who buries her brother and leaves her mother but finds a family just the same. We have Akshaya here today who's going to discuss this book in detail. Hello Akshaya, it's wonderful to have you here. And I would like to introduce you to the rest of our audience. Akshaya is an avid reader and she has kindly consented to review this book for us. So Akshaya, as a book, I felt it did not have much of a plot, but it still had a story. Did you also think so?
I felt that the book focused more on the characters and their stories rather than a general plot. And all of those stories put together, it was a great read, and I absolutely loved reading it. It made me connect to the characters more and empathize with them. All of them now occupy a very special place in my heart. Death, Liesl, Hans, Rosa, Max, and the boy whose hair remained the color of lemons forever.
Yes, I agree. The characters were very intense and lovable. But did you believe that this book is one of the few which focuses on the enormous power of words? And how do you think it does it? Because I felt that it does.
The best word shakers were the ones who understood the true power of words. They were the ones who could climb the highest. One such word shaker was a small, skinny girl. She was renowned as the best word shaker of a region because she knew how powerless a person could be without words. In the book, the author does focus a lot on the power of words and the impact they have on people. For Liesl, words were comfort. Words were soothing lullabies that took her mind away from everything that was happening around her and gave her solace. Words became her safe space. When her entire world seemed to fall apart around her, words gave her shelter. In the book, we also see how words can be used to turn people against each other. Hitler ruled the world with his words. He used them to pollute people's minds and completely shift their ideologies into believing him. As I read this book, it made me wonder, without his powerful, convincing speeches, would Nazism even exist? Would countless innocent lives have been subjected to such atrocities and suffering? This book opened my eyes on how much impact mere words have on people.
I do love the concept of words being a shelter. That makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Also, what made me feel warm and fuzzy was my favorite character. But first, you have to tell me who was your favorite character.
My favorite character is Death. Death watches the world from a distance, collecting people and their stories along with them. It makes me wonder, does Death ever feel helpless? With a responsibility it can never give up. I found the answer in the book. We watch Death experience emotions like joy, sadness, and how it starts growing weary of its job, this never-ending labor of collecting dead souls. Death looks at the sky often, fixating on its beautiful colors. People spend their entire lives trying to find meaning to their existence, why they do what they do. Death similarly finds a way to keep itself going, collecting stories of courageous people it finds around the world. Interesting, isn't it?
Well, ditto there as well. I loved Death as a character. Rudy also as a character is brilliantly done. What do you think of his biggest moment before meeting Liz? The Jesse Owens incident. I found that spectacularly well done.
I loved Rudy as a character, his little quirks, his friendship with Liesl and their beautiful bond. Yes, I do think the Jesse Owens incident was his big moment because it became the thing he was referred to by, and it defined his character too. Like this eccentric little boy, passionate and crazy enough to do such a thing that nobody would ever even dare to.
True that. If Liz is the moral center of the book, Hans Huberman is the heart, and Rosa Huberman the spine. Did you enjoy their pairing as much as I did?
Yes, I agree with this. Lysel was the center of the story, with the whole book revolving around her life and constant meetings with death, the people in her life, and everything she's been through. Hans was definitely the heart. He was a safe space for Lysel and for all of us too, assuring and being there every step of the way and providing this constant warm comfort. Rosa, however, was a spine. She may seem harsh, but she did play a very, very pivotal role in shaping the story and its characters and being this backbone throughout the entire time.
What do you think of Max's imaginary boxing matches with Hitler? What do you think they signify?
Max's life, like many others, was turned upside down when Hitler came to power. I felt that the boxing matches signified his life and its constant blows to him, and how Hitler was behind it all. Even in his fantasies, he was being overthrown, shows us just how helpless he might have felt in that situation. But somehow, all of the dreams ended up with Lysel asking him to do the crossword with her. Spending time with her was something he enjoyed and looked forward to, and she was the breath of fresh air that he needed.
They have one thing I envy humans. If nothing else, have the good sense to die. That is what death says. And being the narrator of the story, it's something really profound. And I found death to be literally humane. I wonder, how did you find him to be?
All of us have this particular idea of what death would look like. This dark, scary creature just out to get the people we love. But with this book and death narrating it, it had such a fresh perspective. I loved reading about death and his feelings towards the world, towards Lysel, and even towards himself. He keeps looking at the world and all of the lives in it. He has no control over the lives he takes, but merely does the duty given to him. There are these two lines in the book which go something like, "The human heart is a line, whereas my own is a circle. And I have the endless ability to be in the right place at the right time. The consequence of this is that I'm always finding humans at their best and worst. I see their ugly and their beauty, and I wonder how the same thing can be both." And often I'm reminded of her, and in one of my vast array of pockets, I have kept her story to retell. It's one of the small legion I carry, each one extraordinary in its own right, each one an immense leap of an attempt to prove to me that you and your human existence are worth it. And I think it sums up death as a character and its humanity in such a beautiful way.
Published in 2005 in Australia by Marcus Zusak, who did not live in Germany but his parents did before migrating to Australia in 1950s, the book Thief can feel so real. But sorry, the book Thief is a product of imagination of Marcus Zusak. It's a historical fiction. It has all the elements of a good historical fiction. A great fictional story told in a historically accurate setting with historical events as the background. In a fictional town, Molching, which is based in the suburbs of Munich. Should you read it? Should you not? Who should read it? Who should not? It's a question. And sometimes these questions bother us, which is why we brought about the entire concept of Book Bibuli. And I wonder if we are actually more or less on the same page. What do you say, Akshaya?
I love the entire concept of book bibli, where we, the child, can express our views on a book. Elementary, isn't it? But somehow no one thought or cared about it. Instead, of only the views and reviews of adults, we can now listen to the views of one of us. And it's not possible to fake here, it's a podcast. More strength to you, Bookbibly, and I would urge all of the children to support it. It's our platform.
Well, last but not the least, and I really have been meaning to ask you this question from the beginning. Who do you think is the real book thief? Is it Death or is it Liz?
The entire book, we see Lizel stealing books. Books which shape her and books that act as reminders of the people she loved. Where I think the book thief is actually Death. Death goes around the world collecting stories to give the work he does some sort of a purpose, a meaning. Death carefully picks up stories of people's lives, their experiences, and their acts of courage, all bound together in a book with the colors of the sky as a cover.
Well, thank you very much, Akshaya, for being with us today. And there, folks, you have it. Book Thief is a book about Lizelle, a fighter of a main protagonist who cares not for rules or social norms and is equally at home sheltering a Jew or slapping the snot out of a boy who mocks her. The story follows her life with her foster parents, her friends, and her penchant for stealing books. All the characters are created beautifully and feel exactly how they should. Hans with his quiet charms, Rhoda with her nerves of steel, Rudy with his devil-may-care attitude, Max with his own rise to bravery. This is the story of the love of living, ironically narrated by Death, a character who is omnipresent and omnipotent. And even while narrating, he does not take on the role of a background narrator, but instead is woven more intricately than any other character into the story. As we've already told you, it is a work of historical fiction. Read it for make-you-believe storytelling, but do not quote it for historical facts. Children of reading age over 14 and reading competence of 6 can definitely venture here. Just to make another point very clear, it celebrates the legacy of words, the power of words to do good, to do bad, to raise low and to raise high, to create a Hitler, to allow a Hans Huberman to exist. In a sense, the power of words to change worlds. The book showed that words indeed rule the world. And with a few of those words, I leave you until next Friday. Happy reading!